Oh, I think I I think I hit record and then I wasn't paying attention to what was going on. Hey everyone, it's Jennifer, and I'm trying to do too many things at once, which is funny because that is kind of what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to Grace Filled and Graceful, the podcast. Double checking. Am I recording this? Yes. Okay. It's Jennifer, and we are going to hop into the next edition of the podcast. And I don't actually know which number this is because the way that I produce these is I record on Thursdays. Um, Meanwhile, through the whole week, I've been editing last Fridays and putting up the Fridays before then. So I don't know which episode this is, but I am live in a couple places. I'm live over to our Grace Filled and Graceful um, YouTube channel. I'm over there, as well as I'm also over at our Grace Filled and Graceful Facebook group, our community there. And it's just something special that you have access to as far as being a part of the Facebook group. And so what I think I'm going to be doing is I think that I'm going to do the live going forward just on the Facebook group because I really want you guys to have something very special that nobody else has access to. And so I think I'm going to start to, since I'm editing the podcast anyways, throughout the week, I have an edited version because I record it as a video and then record it that way. So I have an edited video. So I think that what I'm going to start doing is put the edited video on the YouTube channel so that if you want to be part of the live, then we're going to be doing the live here on in the face in the. Do I need more coffee? In the Gracefilled and Graceful Facebook group. Okay, I think I got that all straight. And I was, as much as I'd like to try to plan everything ahead of time, a lot of times I don't. And this morning I was thinking, well, gosh, what should I do my podcast on? And after I drop the kids off at school, I have some time just driving home. And since it seems to be that I'm on autopilot when I'm driving home most of the time, my brain wanders. And so today I came up this morning with what I'm going to talk about today. I'll get my notes all set here. I'm on two different, what is that called? Browsers. Because StreamYard, which by the way, I'm recording on StreamYard. So if you want to make any comments on the Facebook group or on YouTube, you need to accept whatever it is posted above the video. I have to accept that so that I can see your name pop up, because I will see if you send me a message. I'll see the message so we can talk about it, but I'm not able to see who's sending it unless you okay it. Anyway, so I'm on two different browsers because StreamYard prefers Chrome, so I'm there. And so let's get started about what we're going to talk about today: slowing down to speed up, enjoying the journey. And I'll get into a minute how I was kind of led to talk about this. But I think my issue of being in a hurry stemmed a long time ago. A lot, like I remember when I was very young, like elementary school, feeling like I was always in a hurry. So maybe you've noticed either recently you feel like you're always in a hurry, or maybe your experience stems way back. But so this morning, oh, let me tell you what we'll talk about first. We're going to talk about why do we hurry through things so much? Then we'll talk about kind of where, like, when did this start and how did it get here? Why are we in such a hurry? What kind of things do you do to help slow yourself down, or are you even aware enough yet to be able to notice when you fall into the huge fault line that is the chasm that is the hurry? And then I'll talk about some things that I have found to help me. And then I have a couple of good articles that I was going to just pick from. As always, when I share an article or a book or anything like that, I'll put the information in the show notes so we can get that to you. And they are not, the book is, I think I'm going to get more into the book next time, but the book is not an affiliate link. You can just go to Amazon and click it, and you can get that book. But so we'll talk about some things that have helped me, as well as um, some things that we can do on the little, like on the little realm, to make a big difference in the end. And then I'm going to go through some more details on what I offer with my brand new thing that I'm doing, the brand new offer that I have, because I think that you may, what's that word? Resonate with a lot of the things that I'm talking about and a lot of the things that I teach on. But to actually have the opportunity to work one on one with me, I wanted to let you know that I have some things going on with that. So, okay, let's get started. Okay, so here, let's go back to what I was talking about when I was driving home. Well, I was driving home today, and kind of where my brain was going. So I must have felt like I was in a hurry for some reason, and I'm doing my best to acknowledge, like, oh, I'm feeling that way. Okay, like what thoughts did I have to kind of get me into that feeling? Because usually you have the thought first, and then you react to the thought, and that's kind of what your body's doing. And um, I thought about being in a hurry, and then, like, when did society start defining success as getting more done in less time? Now, before the industrial revolution, before the industrial revolution, things, wouldn't you agree, moved at a much slower pace. Now, I grew up mainly in the 80s. I was born in the 70s. Things were at a much slower pace then. So it just seems that as a society and in the world, things, there's a focus on moving faster. So what was it like before, when a lot of people were in rural situations and they were perhaps working on a farm, um, and that there was, the way the farm works is that there were certain times to do everything, and was there ever a feeling of hurry? Because you can't hurry seeds. I mean, you have a buffer of time in the spring, I would imagine, that you plant. Maybe it happens over a couple weeks. It didn't happen in, like, oh my goodness, I have an hour to get this done. Let's crank it out. Like, I don't think anybody would have thought to put themselves in that situation. You can't hurry the seeds to germinate and to grow. That happens in what? Another buffer of time, like a 3-month window, right? So there was not a big amount of hurry then. Then you had time to get the crops taken in. Of course, the goal probably would be before the frost or before it snowed or whatever it would be, to make it a little bit more complicated, but you had the time. So the next thought that I had was the fact that a scenario popped into my head of, like, a 1950s housewife, and she was taking care of the house. She was doing all the things, like the cooking and the cleaning and the organizing and the things that just have to get done. Maybe paying bills or running errands. And then there was I have no idea when it started, but then there was a thing that popped into my brain about, well, how about a dishwasher? Okay, let's invent a dishwasher because why? Because washing dishes is laborious. Is it's annoying. I know personally I don't like my hands wet. Like if I get in a swimming pool, my hands are always the last thing to get in. I don't like my hands wet. But oh, okay, well, it'll save the housewife time to have a dishwasher. Okay, what is that going to give her more time to do? More time with the children. Great. More time with the family. Great. That's a great thing to do. But then I think that the focus is so much on create all these things so that we're not pounding clothes on rocks. Hello, washing clothes. And we're not washing our dishes in the sink with our hands. Hello, dishwasher. Or we're not having to put a kettle of water on the stove to heat up. Hello, microwave. But it really has any of those things that have been created to help make our lives easier, has it helped us to slow down at all, to enjoy life at all more? And the answer I believe is no. And so kind of how did this happen? It's always maybe it's always been here. You know, my limited scope of experience is the 70s until now, right? But why are we in such a hurry to get through things? So let me tell you about my experience with this. And I've thought about this for a long time. Maybe you have had this experience. Maybe you can think back to when you were younger, feeling like you were in a hurry, where I saw point A is where I am, point B is where I want to be. And I just want to get from here to here the fastest so that why? Why am I in a hurry to empty the dishes? Because I want to relax. First, I'll do all the work and then I'll relax. Okay, that makes sense. You know, work now so you can play later. That kind of makes sense. But why and how did that go from that type of thinking to okay, that's done. Now I got to do something else. Now I got to do more. And it always in a hurry. Yesterday, my son stayed home with a cold. It was day 2. And day 1 with the cold, I was a little bit more, I had a little bit more difficulty accepting that work would be look different since he was home. And so I ended up actually with a headache because I was fighting internally for so long that it made my muscles tense and then gave me a headache. Yesterday, I accepted it a little bit more and I was willing to just do what I could do and be ecstatic about what I could do. And so after that, I was so proud of myself. Maybe you've had an experience where you're like, talk yourself through it. It's going to be great. You ended up with a great experience and you're proud of yourself. Yesterday at, it was like 3-ish, 4-ish, I had about an hour before dinner. And it probably was because I was tired. I didn't sleep well the night before and my guard was down, but I found myself in this energy where I was just wandering around the house. Like I was pacing around the house like a dog would before a storm would come, like I feel like I should be doing something, but I can't think of anything to do that would fit into this hour. And I ended up actually running an errand for my husband because he was doing something. I said, well, let me do that for you. I'm fine. But why didn't I just say, oh, this is a great time to read more about this book that I've been enjoying reading? Or why don't um, I could have done anything. Why don't I'm guessing I didn't think of that, like do other things like with the kids and stuff, because they both were doing things that they like to do after school that I didn't want to take away from them. And so I just kind of felt myself aimless, like I need to be doing something. But I could have just been like, "Oh my goodness, I have an hour. I'm gonna chill out with a book." Why did I choose the hurry to the drugstore, hurry to the grocery store, go back to the drugstore because the phone wasn't working the first time when I was trying to get a hold of my husband from the. Why did I choose that over reading? And it wasn't an emergency. It wasn't like the world's going to end if we don't have this medicine. It was just that feeling of doing is going to serve my soul better than just being. So I'm not, like I said, oh, I wanted to impress upon you that the Industrial Revolution was definitely not a bad thing. I'm not complaining about the Industrial Revolution. We probably are a lot healthier potentially than people were at that time. But as far as that constant buzz of anxiety and hurry, so as I was doing research for our time together on the podcast today, I just Googled slow down to speed up. Because a lot of the things that I'm learning with Kelly Brock, who you know that I work with, and her information is always on the show notes, is sometimes, and I've had this thought even before Kelly, sometimes we just got to slow down to speed up. And so I Googled it, slow down to speed up. And the first thing that came up was an article. It was written several years ago by, I would imagine, somebody at the company. The company is called McKinsey and Company. I'm only familiar with it because I know somebody who used to work there. McKinsey and Company is a management consulting firm that advises on strategic management to corporations, governments, and other organizations. And so I would imagine somebody within the organization wrote this, and I'm just going to read part of it because it is so spot on. It's so spot on. And I'm glad that it popped up first. They have some good SEO there, don't they? So let me read a little bit about this article. Let me close the door. Okay, this is directly from the article titled Slowing Down to Speed Up, and I'll give that link to you in the show notes. The world has always been one of change, but as technology evolves and speeds up our lives, something about the changes we face is different. It's more of an extreme shift, more rapid and complex, and the challenges are more difficult. In the face of this, leaders work harder and faster to cope. And would you not agree with that? As leaders of our own businesses, leaders of potentially teams as we grow our business, you work harder and faster to cope. Considered virtues, we even select leaders based on these quantities. So as far as, hey, I'm building an organization, I'm looking for a leader that is willing to work harder and faster. However, in working with top teams, so McKinsey consults with huge companies all over the world, the highest producing companies, most educated, intelligent business workers, teams, on how they can maximize what they have and do and reach bigger goals, basically, is what they do. So in working with top teams, we conclude that just speeding up isn't the answer. Underlined. It often, oh, maybe did I underline that? No, they did. Okay. It often makes things more complex, consumes more energy, and in the best case, solves only part of the challenge. And so I've experienced this myself and working for myself, that I felt like I was running all the time just to keep up. And so maybe you know that feeling. In fact, the previous thing that I did to running this business was to work with a direct selling team, and it was done by months, like the beginning of the month, end of the month, and there was always this huge end of the month rush that I just could never learn to enjoy. And then I always wanted like a buffer of like, can I have just 2 or 3 days between the end of the month and the beginning of a new month, just so that I can get my bearings, right? Okay, in fact, we find that if top teams, which would be you, since you're here, slow down, If the top team slow down, they eventually go deeper and faster into achieving their objectives. They deal more effectively, I love that word, with increased complexity and challenges, and they use less energy. Hello, does that not make sense? Effective and efficient? So, why are leaders initially skeptical when asked to slow down? The answer most leadership theories continue to be based on, and most leaders still live and work on, the Newtonian worldview, where leaders strive to control and structure their challenges and guarantee outcomes. So, I want to go from point A to point B. I want to do these things, and I know that if I do these things, I will control the outcome. And I grew up in the business world believing that that was how success worked. You know where you are, you know where you want to go. What do I have to do to get there? And they're saying that this Newtonian worldview, leaders strive to control and structure their challenges and so that they can guarantee outcomes. Engaging in a quick discussion and moving as fast as possible from A to B in a controlled and straight line fits this worldview perfectly. Hello, the straight line is from A to B. Okay, so McKinsey, this company that is made up of brilliant minds and amazing leaders, is telling us that this view of going from point A to point B in a straight line is skewed and that it's not serving us well. Okay, but the Newtonian worldview doesn't align anymore to help tackle the challenges that companies and their leaders face today. So perhaps this worldview worked at one point, or maybe it worked in the pre-industrial age. Maybe it works on farms. I want to grow a crop, so I have 3 months or I have several weeks to plant the crop, plant the seed so that the spring rains come and water, and then the summer sun comes. And okay, I can see how that would work in a Newtonian type of a thing. But then it says, okay, but the Newtonian worldview doesn't align anymore to help tackle the challenges companies and their leaders face today. In our work with top teams, they underline that too. They're proud of that, which they should be. We perceive that the quantum worldview, as exemplified in Max Planck's and Albert Einstein's theory around quantum physics, unlocks fresh possibilities and mindsets. In the quantum worldview, where everything connects, we accept that our challenges are complex. We recognize too that we need to pace the speed of our work, slowing down in some moments for deeper dialogue and understanding of our challenges and speeding up elsewhere. Okay, so it's not starting gate, run as fast as you can to B, it's the ebb and flow of speeding up, slowing down, paying attention to what's going on. Perhaps the most important element of the quantum worldview is knowing that solutions are always available and require only that we be conscious enough to see them. If we set the right attention, we're fully present and intention, directing our energy to the solutions we want to emerge. To become a leader in the quantum worldview, focus on the 4 steps. Accept your challenges are complex, pace the speed of your work, slow down to speed up. Trust that solutions are always available. Set the right attention and intention by being present and directing your energy. And it goes on, but I will, like I said, link this article in the show notes because I think it was a true golden nugget. Google gave me a golden nugget. And the thing that I like that, well, number one, accept that your challenges are complex. And that's looking around and saying, here I am. This is what I'm dealing with. I'm a small business owner. I'm looking to grow a business or service online. I feel that I have been given the skill set, these strengths to support and encourage and lead a group of people to a better way of life, to eliminate some of the pains that they're feeling. And how can I show up as a person to do that? Okay, so let's ask ourselves, what have you noticed in your experience in working with this in yourself daily that has helped you to get a better perspective, to help you Trust that solutions are always available. To pace the speed of your work. To say, I work at home, I'm a mama. Sometimes the kiddos are at home, or sometimes something happens and I have no control. Maybe the power goes out, or maybe things that things happen. Things happen. And you get that sneaking feeling that comes up into your soul of panic or of anger or frustration. That was always how mine always showed up, being frustrated. And so I'll share with you a couple of things, and feel free to comment. I comment below the video or on the podcast. Some things that really help me to feel the best inside my body in a slower pace. Well, I just have to tell you this. If I was going to say something, sleep, getting enough sleep. For me, it's 8 hours. Even if I have 1 hour less, I can feel it. I can feel it. Okay, enough sleep, eating well. I'm not a dietitian, but I know that lots of vegetables are good for you. A little bit less fruit, but those are the best things. Protein from a reliable source that you feel good about, um, and some carbs to make you feel full, um, and lots of water. Lots of water. Another thing that's really helped me to slow down is over the pandemic, over 2020, I looked more into and started practicing yoga more from my house. And I have somebody that I like. I'll give you her information in the show notes. But um, that that way of moving my body gave me a couple of things. Number one, it gave me the ability to learn how to listen to what my body's saying to me. Okay. Whether I'm tight one day and not as much the next, or if I'm feeling weak. It also helped me to visualize and feel myself go through things that are uncomfortable. Yoga is a lot of stretching, and I think stretching feels great, even if it's a deep stretch. But with some of the poses, I am very clearly not as strong as the person teaching me because I'm shaking and she's not. And so that's uncomfortable when your body is physically tired because you're building new muscle material, or you're not used to using a certain muscle a certain way. And so, yeah, it's one of those things where you just want to give up. It's so uncomfortable. But she showed me how to just be present with it and be okay with it. And breathing, that's the next thing, has helped exponentially. And I always knew that when you kind of got into a panic, your breathing was erratic, or when one gets into a panic, their breathing is kind of all over the place. I got from another man that I follow. His name is Alex Kuhn. I'm happy to put his information in there as well. He is a former collegiate athlete and did a lot of work with coaching as well as building businesses and selling businesses. And now he works online and helping other people work online. And he has this thing where he talks about taking 100 deep breaths every morning and how it exhilarates you. Would you not love to feel exhilarated? Deep breathing, super important. I spend more time reading. And I used to think of reading as a luxury, like I'm done with everything, so my reward is reading. Well, I never got done with everything, right? So I'm putting reading first before I ever get done with everything. because I know how beneficial it is for my mind and my spirit and my work and my ability to teach others. And I spend more time with the Bible. And I do that in the morning time because it rings in my head. If for some reason I think, well, I'm going to skip it this morning, is seek ye first of the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added onto you. And so I spend more time in a Bible study that I love. I'll put that on there too. I'm going to link everything today for you. Uh, anything that will help you. Um, because it is important that we find our own ways. We find our own ways to do things that need to get done. And my way might not be your way, but maybe I have something that will lead you to your right way. And I'm happy to do that. And the last thing that I've noticed I've been working on a lot more is that I can't just speed through my emotions and my feelings. Very similar to the physical aspects of yoga or anything that you're doing with your body that is going to increase your strength. You can't speed through the reps of arm curls. Okay. Well, you could, but I think your muscle would develop a little differently. Anyways, sometimes it's going to be uncomfortable. And instead of trying to speed through the discomfort to get to the other side, sitting with it more, being willing to stay in that spot and just chill. Does that sound weird? Does that sound counterintuitive? Like, oh, I don't like the way that feels. I'm angry or I'm frustrated, or, let me do something to move past it. And you could repress that. You could um, try to, oh, what's the word? Try to pretend it's not happening by doing other things that attract your attention, like entertainment or drinking or whatever. Or you could just sit with it. Whole new way of thinking. I'm just going to sit with this feeling of frustration and not try to figure it out. I mean, not even getting that deep. Just kind of be like, imagine like sitting on a park bench with your frustration and feeding some pigeons. Kind of just willing to sit there and acknowledge it. And then it disappears and you can move on without turning to more detrimental ways of dealing with it. So I would love to know what kind of things you do to slow down so that you can speed up. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is, I was just checking the time. I read this book. Oh, it's been a couple years ago. And it's called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. I pulled an article, like a summarization of the book by a gentleman named James Clear, and I will put that in the show notes. The reason why I bring this up, and I think we're going to talk more about this at a later podcast, because I like what Darren Hardy says. The compound effect is what the book is called, is the strategy of reaping huge rewards from small, seemingly insignificant actions. You cannot improve something until you measure it. Always take 100% responsibility for everything that happens to you. That is James Clear's 3-sentence summation of the book. But what I like about it is the idea is that success is not, and this is one of the quotes, success is doing something. Success is doing a half dozen things, that's 6 things, really well, repeated 5,000 times. So I think as small business owners, we can get so bogged down, covered up by, consumed with, feeling frantic about so many things that need to get done in our business, that we feel like we are spread so thin that we aren't getting the job done that we need to get done. But if we're using our strengths, I don't believe that God has given us a million strengths. He's given us a couple good ones. if we stay in those strengths and repeat the small things many times, we're going to see the fruit in the harvest time. Another great quote is, you don't need more knowledge, you need a plan of action. Small choices plus consistency plus time equals significant results. So I'm going to wrap up the podcast there. I wanted to continue the thought of that you don't need more knowledge, you need a plan of action, because I have something that I wanted to bring to you all. It is the rolling out of my Grace-Filled and Graceful Strategic Deep Dig, where we're going to meet up together to excavate. We're going to meet up together to excavate around your current business foundations. And the reason why we're doing that is not to mess it all up. It's actually slowing down to speed up. What we're going to do is we're going to clear away the clutter of all of the things that can get in our way so that we can focus on doing a handful of things really well for long enough to see the fruit. So you'll come to the conversation with already knowing your strengths and your giftings, but we're going to evaluate that a little bit more and talk about it, hash it out. We're kind of lay all the mat. What is that called? We're gonna not get your ducks in a row. We're gonna show all your cards. We're gonna lay them all out. Okay. We're gonna do some rearranging of them for them to make more sense for a continued amount of growth in your business. We're going to identify a business structure based on your priorities. I think there's a lot of emotion that can get mixed up when we're trying to grow a business and we have our priorities, but they aren't clear. And we're working from a sense of lack, which makes us feel like, well, I'm going to put my priorities down a little bit, because if I put them down, I'll have more time, energy, finances, experience, whatever, to hit my goals. When really the priorities are going to be like the rocks in the river that never move. The water goes around them. So we're going to talk about a business structure based on your priorities. And we're going to create an understanding of how the building of a business has changed. How building your business has changed most, but most people are building a business and they have not changed their ways. So going back to the Newtonian way of thinking versus the quantum way of thinking. And don't let those big scientific words scare you. It's just a different way of perception of time. We'll have a blueprint. We're going to make a blueprint of your marketing plan based on how you feel most in your zone. And you'll walk away with 3 steps for your graceful blueprint. You're going to be feeling more clear, more confident, and more calm after this remodel, so to speak. But what I like to envision it as is it's just taking this beautiful patio that has been a little bit cluttered with leaves and debris and maybe some acorns and some pine cones and some, rocks from the yard are kind of strewn in there. We're going to sweep it away. We're going to kind of clear out the foundation a little bit so that there's an understanding, a clarity of what it is that you have, what it is that you want to do, and the first kind of 3-4 baby steps on how to get you into momentum, because an object at rest stays at rest until there's a force enacted upon it. So in order to talk with me, I'm doing 3 of these deep digs, actually complimentary. If you want to learn more about them, go ahead and email me, and I'll put my email in the show notes so that you can get that from me. But I'm looking for some genuine feedback on this process, and so you're instrumental in we'll work together in getting you the best result, and then getting some great feedback for me on that. I want to say goodbye by reminding you. Okay, so I love doing these podcasts. I love them because I feel like live is so important when you're learning from somebody or when you're building a relationship, because you want to see what they are like. You want to see their ums and their uhs and their oops, I forgot these, and the, looking at the camera, sometimes looking away to think. You want to see real, right? So I love the podcast for that. I love, sorry, the live offer for that. I love working that way. But I also love writing. I love writing. And I love it for a whole bunch of different reasons than just this conversation. Um, I get most clarity in the writing, and I love building a blog, so to speak. I love the structure and everything about it. So I am a member of what's called locals.com. And as much as I can relate this to you, it's kind of like Facebook, the way that it's set up. It has like not a timeline, but a feed. It has a feed, and it's updated with the most recent things at the top of the feed, and then you can scroll back. And on there, I have the edited version of the lives. So you're going to see less ums, because I think that the length of video that can be on there is no more than 30 minutes long. But there's that. And then I'm also posting my blog. So my blog, what is it? It's um, writings, it's thoughts, it's a little bit more in depth than what you're getting here on the podcast. And so if you really like that medium, if you like to read, um, in learning more about the story or going deeper, for each podcast that I do, there's going to be a corresponding blog. Now it's not like the exact, it's not the translation, not the translation, that's not what the right word is. It's not just taking what I've said and having it put in writing. It's same topic, deeper conversation, I guess you could call it. So what you'll do is you can click the locals link in the show notes, and you'll be taken over there. Now that is a membership area, but I think that you're going to be really excited to see what I have for you there. And it is different than the Facebook group. The Facebook group is getting lives and other fun things like that, but they are not getting the blogs. So take a look at that. I think it's going to be a really great community, and I'm excited to offer it to you. So thanks for listening, for joining us on this podcast. I'd love to get your thoughts on your experience as you're walking through this with your own business, the slowing down to speed up. I believe the more that you call to attention the reality of how things really are working, the less strength that the enemy has on your brain, because he wants us to believe that we are alone, that we're the only one that feels this way, that everybody else has it easy, and that everybody else is unlike you, which leads to shame. And shame is the lowest. Oh, I wanted to talk about that. Well, I'll talk about that at different time. I'm reading this book right now. It's called The Pathway to Surrender. And it's kind of woo-woo, but really it's not. It's very scientifically based. It talked about the different vibration current frequencies that our body holds. And shame, the reason why I brought this up, guilt and shame are the two lowest frequencies in your body before you die. And so if the enemy can keep us in a shame at the lowest frequency possible, we are not going to be able to do what we've been called to do, right? So yes, the more we can get out the truth about who we are and what we've been asked to do, despite what we consider being our weaknesses, our strengths will carry the message to who needs to get it. So be sure that you like and subscribe and share and all the fun things, because I really think this message is unique and I really do believe it's meant to serve a lot of people. And so if it's positively affected you, you probably have a bestie, or do people even say that anymore? I don't even know. Or somebody that you love in business or in life that would really resonate with this, or would really benefit from knowing that we're here. So we will see you next week at this time. Usually I'm live in our Facebook group at 10 o'clock Central on Thursdays for about 45 minutes. The podcasts are up on Fridays, and usually I'm catching up. I'm trying to catch up on the blog site right now. I think I'm on podcast 3, writing the blog that goes with the corresponding thing. But that, as I catch up, then that's going to be posted on Fridays as well. So until we meet again, and we will be looking forward to that. I had something written down that I wanted to be sure that I told you. Oh, I remember. Next time we're going to be talking about what if growing this business online could be fun and easy. That's what we're talking about next week. So for now, we'll see you then. Have a great day.